Good morning, everyone. Today we will be continuing with our unit on women's history. Our topic of focus will be Maya Angelou, her selected works, contributions, accomplishments, and wonders. For our reading lesson, we will be developing a character development book for before, during, and after reading the lesson. We will also be completing a flowchart with the main idea, supporting details, theme, and author's purpose. For that, we have selected various poems that Maya Angelou wrote for us to analyze. We'll be looking at The Traveler by Maya Angelou, Byways and Bygone and Lone Nights Long, Sun Rays and Sea Waves and Star and Stone, Manless and Friendless, No Cave My Home, This Is My Torture, My Long Nights Alone. From this poem, we can see various elements of alliteration, metaphors, imagery, repetition, rhyme, and suffixes. Once we analyze this poem, we can compare this poem to other poems such as Still I Rise and Conceit.
Okay, class, and then moving on, now that we've learned about these different poems and different pieces from Maya Angelou, we can go ahead and compare and contrast her early life to her later life. We can compare ourselves to the way that she grew up in all of the things that she's been through. And we can also take this opportunity to go ahead and compare and contrast her different pieces, such as The Traveler and Why the Caged Bird Sings. From those sources, we will begin with our essay and planning for our essay, finding out our sources, elaborating, and then more on that evidence. And there we can take the option of either creating a poem or elaborating more on our written pieces.
And now we want to look at how Maya has impacted science. Today we want to look at how, in particular, the unit on nutrition, how Maya contributes to it with her bread pudding. And we're going to be looking at how we can use substitutes to prevent us from having to deal with cholesterol problems based on us taking in too many saturated fat. And we know that saturated fat can affect our arteries, cause them to become clogged, resulting in heart attacks. We can also have strokes and many other diseases that relate to high saturated fat in our diet. So for her bread pudding, we're going to need a half stick of butter. We're going to need a whole loaf of bread. We will also need 2 eggs, 2 tablespoons of vanilla, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 2 cups of cow's milk, a half cup of raisin, and 1 cup of sugar. Now, what are our ingredients that we could substitute to help us to prevent the body from taking in too much cholesterol-rich nutrients? So we see that we have 2 eggs. We could replace those 2 eggs with some applesauce. And the ratio of egg to applesauce is a half cup of applesauce to 1 cup of eggs. So we're going to reduce our cholesterol intake by replacing those 2 cups of eggs with a half cup of applesauce. And then for cow's milk, there's another way that we can avoid taking in so much cholesterol by replacing those 2 cups of cow's milk with 2 cups of almond milk. And then of course our butter. We can take out a lot of cholesterol out of this recipe by replacing our half stick of butter with a 1/4 cup of coconut oil. And Maya and math. Today we want to look at how we could use our same bread pudding recipe to focus on dividing fractions. And we want to look at just 2 of the important processes that we will need to know in order to divide this ingredient to serve 2 persons instead of 6. So this ingredient, if we had to focus on dividing, for example, any of our ingredients that is in a fractional form, such as our half cup of golden raisins, we would simply use a model. So in our model, we could put our half cup that's represented there by breaking our whole into halves, and then of course, because we want to divide our ingredients into 3 parts, so we serve 2 persons, we would divide each of those half cup in 3 parts. That would cause a half cup to be divided by 3 to give us 1/6 of a cup. And then if we wanted to divide one of those ingredients that has a whole number proportion, then we could simply divide using a model again. We could divide our 2 cups of milk into 3 parts each. And each of those 2 cups, we take 1 part out of the 3 parts. And so that would be a third and a third. And 2/3 is what we get when we divide. 2/3 is what we get when we divide 2 cups of milk into 3 parts.
To wrap up our unit,
We're going to move on to science. Well, science socially. Social science. I don't know about you guys, but all of this analyzing of recipes has made me hungry. For social studies, what I want you to do is to go out into your home, go out into your neighborhood, speak to all of the people around you. And I want you to bring back one of those special family recipes that you have grown up with and that you would like to contribute to the rest of the class. Share with us what it is that you have done. What are the measurements? What are the ingredients? What are some special replacements that we can use within those own family recipes?
and that concludes our unit on women's history. Any questions, comments? Does anyone need clarification? I hope you enjoyed this lesson.